What's up guys, Fedor here, and today I want to take a look at the biggest cash game pot that has been ever played on TV. Let's jump right in and take a look at what happened here, because there is a crazy twist that happens where Doug is also involved in the hand somehow.
Oh, I saw your hand.
Saw someone's hand?
7.
I saw Wesley's hand.
That 5,000 player then from last, is that what happened?
I haven't looked at my hand. I know what you have.
It's a weird spot.
30.
I'm just gonna.
Well, if you're gonna play, then
I fold. Just I'm.
Oh, switch.
He already did.
What you
saw what he
have.
has.
I know what you have.
You've seen it already.
What?
30 to go right now.
Yep. I know. You know what? Thank you. You know what? You make a good point. You make a good point.
mainly what people will do.
To avoid paying 6K, isn't it?
Is going to 4-bet.
Yeah, you're paying 42.
Oh, 3 people left.
Now this hand is weird for a couple of reasons. One, we're playing stand-up game. Two, the whole thing with Doug Polk saying, "I saw your hand." And Doug is watching because he knows what Wesley has, and Wesley has just 5-bet to 275,000. Action back over to Dwan. $387,000 in the pot. It's 175 for Dwan to call. Again, we don't know what Dwan has.
Pounds? 20,000 pounds or 50,000?
And there's the call from Dwan. If you're not watching, come back to your screen right now. Over $500,000 in the pot. We haven't seen a flop yet.
Dwan straddles to 2,000, Hank raises to 7,000, and Wesley's sitting there with 2.8 million, comes in with the 3-bet to 30,000. Now Tom Dwan out of the straddle, 4 bets to $100,000. Wesley with the decision, and he comes in with the 5-bet to 275,000, so this is already taking shape to be a massive pot. Tom Dwan calls the 275K, so there's already $562,000 in the middle, and now we see a flop.
8-8-3, 2 diamonds out there. Wesley does have the ace of diamonds.
Rather dry flop. Obviously, someone could have a flush draw or could hit an 8, but it is an unlikely scenario. Let's see what happens.
This is like you invite a pro.
They like 2 tables and redraw and they play it out.
Maybe they can play them longer, yeah.
Hey, I think guys, this is a really big pot. I don't know.
Sorry.
About 125.
Wesley just asked Dwan how much he had behind, and that got the whole table quiet. Wesley bets 125,000. There's the call from Dwan. Pot now, 812,000.
Dwan checks and Wesley continues, 425K, so a small continuation bet that we often see for this type of sizing in these big pots. Tom comes in with the call, so rather standard so far. Now the really crazy twist in this hand is that Doug Polk has seen Wesley's cards pre-flop. He still had cards, but he mucked. But how crazy is it that Doug has seen Wesley's cards, knows the cards, and there's a 5-bet pot with 600K in the middle, and now you sitting there as Doug and you just try to not give away his hand. What if he has aces? Like, you don't want to ruin the spot for him. What if he's bluffing? You don't want to give away that he's bluffing. It's a really tricky spot for Doug. And actually, I wouldn't know how I would handle it, but I think Doug does it rather well, where he just goes in the mode of, you don't really want to give something away in either direction. I think it would be really reckless to start engaging or start talking. I think he even could have just stood up and walked away. Maybe also it's more difficult for Wesley because he knows that you've seen the card, so it actually poses a rather difficult spot where now that you play for this massive pot, you don't really want to be the one that messes this up. I think Doug does and handles this well actually in the situation. He leans back, tries not to give away. very much. Looked pretty fine to me.
Turn a blank.
Check.
Wesley's hands are shaking. And it looks like he is loading up for another bet. Remember, Doug Polk knows what Wesley has. $350,000 over to Dwan. Pot has got 1.2 million in it. The table has not been this quiet for 4 days. 1.2 million in there already. If Dwan calls this, we'll have one of the biggest pots we've ever seen. And still a river to come. And there's the call.
Now let's get to the turn. $812,000 in the pot, and Tom has 1.1 million behind. He checks to Wesley, and Wesley continues with the $350,000 turn C bet. Tom, we still don't know his cards, has to decide, does he want to continue? Because after this point, I think it is rather likely that the river bet will come for all of the chips. So he has to make a decision if he wants to commit. It's very likely, I think he has a hand like jacks or queens or kings. Very unlikely, I think it's aces. He would probably put in the 6 bet pre-flop is my assumption that he wouldn't trap this hand. At least that's what I would think right now, to get in more chips against these setups, or maybe even ace-king type of hands. Hard to say, but I think queens or kings is the most likely hand that he has. And Wesley is representing a hand like aces, or maybe even an 8, like a 7-8 suited or an ace-8 that he went for the wild 5 bet pre-flop, which I think is possible. Tom is in a tricky spot, and he decides to call the $350,000. So we get to see a river with $1.5 million in the pot. Let this sink in. That is a lot of money, but he only has about half pot left.
The river's a 6. Wesley with just ace high.
Check.
Dwan checks it one more time.
All in.
There's the all in.
He said all in?
He said all in.
For sure? Well, I guess.
Set on.
Yes. Okay. I'm gonna get a water.
Pot has got 2.3 million in there. Wesley is just triple barreled with ace king.
What the fuck? Doug saw his hand. Oh. This is a weird fucking hand. Doug saw his hand, tried to talk him out of 3-betting. 3-bet anyway. I mean, I guess he just flopped an 8, but it seems very hard to fold. Oh.
Dwan checks to Wesley, and Wesley puts him all in for about $800K, and now Dwan is being sent to the tank. Now this is, I think, where the situation is the spiciest, with this setting of Doug knowing his cards and sitting there, and I think this must have been an uncomfortable situation to be in, to just sit there and feel like you're somewhat part of the whole thing, because if you give something away, I actually don't know, you probably feel more uncomfortable when Wesley's bluffing, because then this idea that you give something away that leads to him calling and losing, I think is much worse than, let's say, you know he has aces. So I would assume that just psychologically, you're more likely to be a bit more uncomfortable when Wesley is bluffing rather than when he has a strong hand. But I also feel like Tom is not really digging for something. He's not really staring at Doug and like trying to get the max out of it, because that's also not really the spirit of the game.
Feels like you just flopping fucking chips, huh?
He's got queens. There's the call.
Hey, call.
Call.
Tom Dwan has just won the biggest pot in the history of televised poker. $3.1 million to Tom Dwan.
This is 1.5 and change. Holy shit.
Careful,
7,
Wesley.
40,
You're champion.
70.
70,
You have more heart than anyone here.
1, 2, 3.
You okay, Wes?
784, 5.
7, 84.
Wesley is shaking. He just lost
4, 5.
3 million
a $3 million pot here on Hustler Casino Live.
Dwan decides to make the call. He turns around, pocket queens, and is good against Wesley's ace king. So Wesley with the crazy triple barrel bluff after the 5-bet pre, basically representing a hand like aces or maybe a random 8. Dwan with the hero call against, I think, something that was rather unexpected. I wasn't expecting to see that type of hand necessarily show down, so I think probably a pretty decent bluff. I like the line from Wesley. I think that he has those 6 combos, pure aces in there that I think he basically always plays like this. And then now you have to decide for yourself if you think that he bluffs enough in this spot. I think it's probably close. I think Tom made, in this case, a successful hero call. I personally thought that he will call. I wasn't expecting him to fold a hand like that. From this perspective against the particular player, I don't really like the bluff so much. I like it much more as a value line. That's what happens when you play $1 million pots. If you want to see another one of those crazy cash game hands of the HCL $1 million game, go check out this video where Steffen is dissecting one of the other cash game hands. He is one of the best cash game players I know, so I think you'll love his thoughts. Check it out.